Head into the unknown, down the rabbit hole, where it stops no one knows. We're going head into the unknown. Na, 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 na.
Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon,
Happy
maybe
New
evening, even in some places. Hi, everybody. Thank you guys for being here. I'm very excited. It's probably not the right word, but I'm gonna go with it anyway because that's kind of what I am. I'm very excited about this live and the information that our guests are going to be bringing to you guys. So I wanted to pop on first though and say hi to everybody. Hi, Merp, Insanely Confused, Spicy Sugar. Hi, Carol
Teresa.
Clark. Hi, Christine. I always say,
Happy New
see, I
Year.
already talked to Christine back behind, so I don't say hi to her again. And then she's like, hi, Teresa.
No, I'm
Hi,
here.
Rainbow Light. Hi, Queen. Hi, Jeannie. Hi, Carol, Lady B, likely Nicole, allegedly. Hi, dear. Hi, Allie. I see, Christine, here you are. You're in chat, so I can say hi to you here. Hi, Christine.
Hey, everyone.
Hi,
Happy New Year
Dominic.
to everybody. I hope everybody's weather is calming down. We have something really fun today, or
Well,
interesting.
see this, you're not supposed to say it like that. I don't think this is because, well, maybe for you guys, because you guys in chat, like you're like us and we find this stuff extremely fascinating. So it makes us a little excited or, whatever word you might want to use that probably other people would be like, that's probably not the right adjective, but
Whatever. I'm so stoked. We've been working on this since like May, and it's worth the wait. And what great timing too, with everything that's going on.
Right. So I'm very excited to introduce our guests. We have Krista and Rebecca from the company called Bio-1 Inc. And I'm going to have them come on and tell you guys a little bit about themselves and what they do. And then I think that you guys are going to be the same adjectives that we are. And we'll leave it at that. Hi, Krista. Hi,
Hello.
Rebecca.
Hello.
Good morning.
So thank you guys so much for being here. I can't express our gratitude in you coming on and sharing your knowledge and what you guys do with us so that we can, kind of share that with the audience and the viewers and they can see what happens on this side of what we cover in true crime.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
We're so glad to be here. Thank you. And we're excited to share more about what we do, give a little sneak peek into crime and trauma scene cleaning.
So why don't you guys introduce yourselves, and Krista, Rebecca, you guys introduce yourselves and kind of tell your background and how what we're looking at here or talking about here.
Absolutely. I'll go first. So Rebecca and I, so we both work for the corporate office, but we actually started as Bio-1 owners and have what we call jobby jobs even before that. My background's actually in marketing and public relations. But in 2019, my husband and I wanted to do more for the local community in our area. And at that time, that was in Asheville, North Carolina. And we stumbled on to Bio-1 and it just checked all the boxes for us. It really enables us to go out and immerse ourselves in the community, be involved, and help people. And then, of course, the pandemic hit, and we got really involved also with COVID-19 disinfections. But fast forward to today, I am the marketing director for the corporate office here in Denver, Colorado. And yeah, we've seen a lot. I've suited up. I've been on quite a few jobs since 2019, and now I'm trying to help spread the word of all the good that we do for folks.
Yeah, and I'm Rebecca. So I am the corporate mentor for Bio1 Inc. And what I do is basically all of the training for all of our new franchisees when they come aboard. They have to go through some rigorous training to know how to clean everything properly, know all of the right procedures. And that's where I come in with compliance and making sure everyone knows what they're doing. And before that, I actually have two of my own Bio1 offices as well in Scottsdale, Arizona and Flagstaff, Arizona with my husband. So now he's the one that manages those. I get to work with our Bio1 Inc. office and help all the offices as a whole, which I absolutely love. And then before that, before I was even with Bio1, I was in the restaurant world. So I went from the restaurant world and catering and food trucks to crime and trauma scene cleanup. So completely different, but same as Krista, just being able to get involved in the community, help people during some of their hardest times, and eliminate some trauma also in these terrible situations is really what drew me to Bio1 and why I love doing it.
So
It's so
I have a question.
fascinating.
So you're talking to your husband about starting a business, and it's like, okay, so we're going to open up a Papa John's, or we're going to open up a Bio1. I mean, what was like the pros and cons list there? Must have been fascinating.
Yeah, it was interesting. I know I had very interesting conversations with my husband, so did Krista, but it really came down to, for me and my husband, it came down to, do we want to just have like a brick and mortar type of business where people will come in and yeah, we'll be able to make an impact on the people that come in? Or do we want to be able to have a business where we go out and we can meet people where they're at and help them and really be able to make a difference in their lives on a very personal level? And that's where we made the decision to do Bio1.
You guys do a ton. I remember when we were trying to schedule last year, Krista, we got we had to reconnect later because you were doing like a super cool event. What was it? It had to do with like the canines or something.
Oh, so every single year for the last 2 years, Bio1 has been the presenting sponsor of the U.S. Police and Fire Championships, and that is held every year in San Diego. And basically, this is like the Olympics for first responders. So you have firefighters, law enforcement officers, and obviously in our industry, we work very closely with them as referral sources, and also to help them think of things that happen maybe in detention centers or in their patrol vehicles. So we really try to form relationships with law enforcement and first responders so we can continue their service and follow through on the end when their investigation is done. So yeah, at that time, Rebecca, myself, our president, Sandy Ellis, we were all getting ready to head out to San Diego for 10 days and cheer these athletes on. It's always a great time. Did I just make the canine part up? We love dogs here. We love puppies.
It's one of our favorite things to discuss. So I might have just thrown that in my memory just for the heck of it. But you know,
like,
well, they have.
Krista and Rebecca are working with dogs. They're the best. We love them.
No, canine is such a huge. A lot of the offices individually do work with canine units locally, but on the national level for Bio1, that's definitely our flagship event. Is the U.S. Police and Fire Championships.
That's so interesting. So cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and then with my husband, it's honestly, and we hand out cooling towels. Everything is free. We really try to make it fun for all the families. It's hot. We want everyone to be comfortable. We do cooling towels. We do sweatbands. We're trying to connect and just really immerse ourselves with these folks too, because when they're in uniform, they're on guard. They're on alert and ready to expect, whatever situation they're walking into. But when you have them in these casual situations with their families, it's just so much fun to really connect and also learn more and understand what each other does.
Does that line up with like CrimeCon?
I'm sorry, with what?
With like CrimeCon, the convention? That would be cool.
When is CrimeCon? I don't know much about CrimeCon. You guys may know more than I do.
If you guys actually ever go and have like a booth or anything like that there, that would be very interesting, because I think as a franchise company, it would be and probably a recruitment place for people who would be interested in something like that. So CrimeCon in 2023 is in September, and I believe it's actually in Florida. Somebody in chat will definitely correct me if I'm wrong. So how did you guys decide like you were going to transition? This is what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
Like how did you get there?
Oh gosh, for us, it was, I mean, my husband was coming out of automotive. I was coming out of healthcare for like we were in industries that no one enjoys working with. No one enjoys working with healthcare professionals. No one enjoys walking into a dealership. It's just, you are a disliked industry, and we were ready to do more and be a positive force in the community. And also, we wanted to be entrepreneurs. We wanted to work together. I think another big driving force was my husband and I grew up in our bubble. The stuff that I've seen since 2019 has never even entered my mindset, my thoughts, my like reality of day to day. And I think there was a curiosity, but then an eagerness to learn more and to do more. And we certainly have been able to achieve that. But our perspectives on how to help people in living conditions of folks and mental health has completely shifted for the better because we're more aware now.
Rebecca, what about you?
Really, the shift for us was my father had a construction company that my husband managed. We were selling that, so my husband wanted to do something on his own, like own his own business, and wanted me to come alongside of him with it. So he found Bio1, and it checked all the boxes for us. And yeah, it really came down to being able to help the community and get more involved. I help with a lot of animal rescues as well in multiple states. So yeah, I'm very involved with animal rescues, and I've seen so many animal hoarding situations prior to Bio1 where we go in to get these animals out, and it's like you can't help but just tear up seeing the conditions these animals are living in. So when my husband did bring Bio1 to the table, it kind of reignited that in me of like, oh my gosh, now I can even do more. And it really became something that wasn't just about helping, the people where they lost a family member to death, but also the ones that are struggling with hoarding, struggling with addiction, struggling with all of these things that are causing issues in their homes that maybe we can help with. So it was, once that got ignited in me again, me and my husband, we just took off running with it. We boarded very, very quickly the Bio1 train, that's for sure.
So that's actually that's a perfect transition into telling the audience that it's not just about a crime scene. But before we go there, I have to ask you guys one simple question: is before you got into this, were you into true crime at all?
I became into true crime after. It was after, because now I'm so invested in, I'm a huge fan of Ashley Flowers. I don't know if she's if you guys like her, dislike her, but with Crime Junkie, I love her podcast.
Oh, love Crime Junkie. Yep.
I actually just listened to their very first episode in 2017 yesterday, just to compare the differences over the few years. But I'm just fascinated. I'm fascinated with everything now, since I've seen stuff before I hadn't. So how about you, Rebecca?
In all honesty, I really hadn't been involved in much of listening to these types of podcasts or anything prior to Bio1. A big part of that too, though, is that I grew up in a very, very rough area where true crime was basically what I lived every day. So
you were interested unknowingly.
Yeah.
Or unwillingly.
I was like, oh, I lived that story. I don't need to hear it again. So it was just a little bit different. So no, I wasn't too interested, but yeah, once I became part of Bio1, it's a lot of what I listen to and what I do. So
well, and most people don't know about crime and trauma. Like the idea of people actually professionally cleaning up crime scenes, it's still almost very hidden to most folks. No one, I mean, you watch pop culture TV and, you're watching CSI or something, crime related, and all of a sudden the scene is clean and they've gone on to the, the rest of the episode. But in pop culture, really, you only have like when the Cleaners came on, I think it was on I want to say it was on Netflix. There's like a few things like Sunshine Cleaning. There's a few different pop culture movies and TV series that are now starting to talk about it, but it's really unknown still to a lot of folks. And what we do in general and why we do what we do.
Mhm.
So speaking
have
of, why
I
don't you
have a
tell them that it's not just a crime scene, but what is the
Yeah.
company? What is Bio1?
So BioOne, it started off with crime and trauma scene cleaning, but we have very much evolved. So BioOne was started as a franchise company in 2010. So we've been around for a while. We're coming up on 13 years. And it was originally crime and trauma scene cleaning, but it really evolved into helping folks with hoarding situations, sewage backups, animal hoarding situations, really anything that's quite overwhelming and biohazardous in nature. That's when you call us. And Rebecca does all of our training for all of our offices and really dives into a lot of the regulations and a lot of the nuances that we have to be mindful of to prevent contamination across the areas, but also to keep our team safe. Safety is of utmost importance for us. So kind of answered a lot there, but Rebecca, what am I missing? A lot of our offices have gone into mold remediation. Fentanyl and meth decontamination is something about 20 or so offices are doing now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely infectious disease, I would say, and drug abatement has become very big. It has grown substantially over the past few years, as I'm sure everyone knows about everything going on with fentanyl and all the issues around that and how it just keeps on changing, keeps on evolving. So that's been really big for us to be able to do the remediation right, know how to do it all, and make sure everyone is safe. Safety is one of the most important things. So we won't do any type of job or even bring on a new service line if we don't know we can do it safely and have every office across the U.S. do it safely.
So I know
So I have a
Christine.
question.
Christine has. I was going to say Christine's prepared. Like she's been ready for this.
Well,
so I
I've
just
been
wanted to
building
get
these
some of
questions
the
up.
information out of the way before she just like unleashes, because she's got a ton of questions for you guys. So she's going to take the
Burning
floor now, and she's going to
question.
ask you guys what all of her things that she's extremely interested in.
Awesome.
Okay, so first of all, myth busting time. Is your guys' houses spotless? Do you love cleaning?
No.
No.
We have
Is that a
kids.
misconception? Is that like a common misconception?
I'll definitely say there are things now, though, that I am super weird about being cleaned after being in the industry that we are part of. Like things that they weren't super important, like cleaning behind the toilets. Every little nook and cranny for me now has to be completely cleaned at all times because I know what bad things can happen in those seams.
Okay.
I kind of want to know what bad things can happen in those seams.
I want to know if when you guys go to like hire somebody for your team, what characteristics do they need to work for you? And like what, like on the contrary, maybe one of you can like pick up what they need and what they don't need to like what should they like continue on and like apply for the next job, and what do they really need to work for you?
I would say for us, I mean, especially in the nature of what we do, you genuinely have to care. That is the first and foremost thing. If you don't seem to exude some sort of an emotion or caring behavior towards this job, if you're thinking it's a 9 to 5, you think it's good pay, or, hey, I saw something on TV and I want to come in and do this, it may not work out. If you come in and you genuinely want to help people and you're not afraid to work some long hours, some long days, get sweaty, lift stuff, but then also at the end of the day too, be detail oriented and truly make sure that the place is a healthy, safe environment once we leave. It's really, for me, it's attitude. It's genuinely attitude. I feel like you can skill, you can't teach will. And that's something that I strongly was very adamant about for my offices. So,
yeah.
What
will
make you turn them away? Like if they come in and say, I don't like blood.
Well, yeah, that might. I'm afraid of blood and smells make me nauseous. right? All of it's bad.
Right. And there's, I would say most offices, I mean, every Bio One office is independently owned and operated. So the hiring process is very different for each office. So we can't speak for everybody, but I would say most probably have trial periods where you may just need to see if this is a good fit for you, where you can just try, suit up, learn some skills, and it could be a trial basis. Because to be fair, until my first, crime scene, I'd never seen anything like that before. I had no idea even before I bought a franchise if I could handle it. Thankfully, it turned out I could. But, I think that's fair if you've never seen these situations and if you've never had to clean up a situation like what we do, a trial period is, I think, absolutely fair.
So does the new kid usually have to go behind a bush and let throw up once or twice, or do you forgive them for this, or what?
I've never had anyone throw up. Have you had anyone throw up on the job?
I have. I've had a couple, and we have a rule where if you throw up, you clean it up. So that's our only rule. And we've had to have a couple people do that. Usually what we do for the first couple jobs that we have our new employees go to, some people think it's mean, but it really is. We need to make sure that they can handle what we're doing. So we have them clean out the fridge from a hoarding job, because that's normally the hardest thing to do is the fridge. So that's what we have them do to see if they can stomach it.
Is that the worst thing?
Oh, especially if the electricity's been off for a while. I mean, if you guys, so was it Teresa or Christine? One of you are in Florida. You probably know the term hurricane fridges.
Oh, that
So
was
we're
Jen.
both in California. It was Jen Lou.
Oh, you both. It was
Florida.
Jen. Okay.
Yeah.
That's right. So there's basically, just imagine power being off and nothing being refrigerated for a while, and what that could possibly smell and be like once you open the fridge.
Yeah, but over a course of years, not days.
Yes, not
years.
Days.
So
have you ever had anybody
Sorry, we have all the
I was
questions.
Say, have you ever had anybody that's too excited to have the job?
Yes, I have had that where they come in and they're ready to work, man. They're ready to go, but they're just so excited to see the blood. They're so excited to get in there. And typically when people come in that excited, it's because they have an idea from TV or from online of what it's going to look like. And once they get in there, at least in my experience, the people that tend to be the most excited, once they get there, they are the most jarred, because they really aren't prepared for what they're going to really be smelling, really be seeing. It's so much better when people don't really have a point of reference. It just makes it a little bit easier to go into those first scenes.
It does. And sometimes too, when you're too excited, you forget the steps of safety. You forget the proper steps to make sure that you and your team, you're not just looking out for yourself, you're looking out for your team members too while you're on site. You have to be more concerned about everybody there versus being really excited that you're on a crime scene. It's really important. Your mindset has to be in the right spot.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. And I will say this too, discretion is so important. If you have someone that's there just to say, hey, I was here, you want to make sure no one's taking photos on their personal phones. You want to make sure that they're not posting on their own social media channels. I mean, privacy for these folks going through these traumatic events is utmost importance. There are clients, that's who we serve. And that's the number one priority is them and their needs and their goals at that time.
That's interesting, because there's a lot of TikToks about crime scene cleanup. And that's like a policy for you guys, that no TikToking on the job?
It is. Definitely no TikToking on the job. We're not. And I mean, if you're focused on TikToking, then one, are you charging for that time? I mean, that's what as a consumer, that's what my brain immediately goes to. Two, do you have the right authorizations and protections from the family to do that? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. And also, I was talking, kind of before the show, there's a lot of protections where we don't want to spread vicarious trauma. And so if we share these scenes online, while it may be interesting as you're scrolling through your TikTok feed, you're also absorbing everything that's happening. And everything that you're seeing. And you may be on TikTok looking at, the cute families doing dance moves. And then all of a sudden the next thing is, a biohazard job, and you're not expecting that. That may not even be something you want to see. So we try to be really mindful of privacy and customers first. In any of the photos, any of the videos that we take on site, it's for documentation purposes only, a lot of homeowners insurance purposes, and for training purposes. It's just, that's who we are as a brand, and that's who we are as Bio1.
So we're having a lot of questions about pay, and you guys don't have to be specific, but can we talk like in generalities here? Like, is it a good paying job? So it kind of sounds like if you're willing to do the work, I don't have to have any experience. You'd be willing to train me and give me the equipment I need. Is that right? And is it a good paying career to go into?
It definitely can be.
So.
It definitely can be. And like Krista said earlier, Bio1 is a franchise, so every office is operated differently, and they do charge differently. And as you all know, being in California, like minimum wage there is very different than like Minnesota. So so it does vary state by state. But from what I've seen, like across the board, because I do work with a lot of the offices, like I was telling you guys earlier, is the pay tends to be well. And the people that get hired on and become managers for a lot of our offices, they're paid very well. They stay on for a long time. You're getting paid for pretty much like doing hazardous work, right? We're working with biohazards. So there is an extra level.
Really, the turnover, like looking online, just like researching things to ask, is that like one of the things about crime scene cleaning is the turnover rate is massive. Like what's the average duration? How many jobs does somebody get through where like, they're either going to make it for the long haul or they're probably not going to make it? Like, is it 2 jobs? Is it a few months?
Gosh, I see, for me, and this is just my experience in my office, I have let go of somebody after just 3 jobs because they clearly didn't mesh well with my team and our company culture. And it's with our team that's, been established for, 2 or 3 years. And it's mainly because of safety. You have to trust everybody everybody that's working on the job site. You have to be on time, because let's say it's a 2-person job, and 1 person is late. You're going to have someone there by themselves on a potentially, dangerous situation where they cannot go in and work by themselves. There's a lot of trust that's formed and a lot of bonding that's needed on these teams. And if someone doesn't fit that mold, it's just not going to work. And it's an honest conversation in that regard. I would say for me, after about 6 months or so, especially after someone has not only learned the technical skills, but has also evolved into taking on more responsibility, I really think that that's kind of a good measurement, at least from what my teams have been on. Yeah. And I would say on average, for at least the employees that I have had with my Bio1 offices, about a year is average. But our longest employee has been with us for 4 years, and our office has been open. My husband's offices has been open just over 4 years. So it really it depends on the office. And to a lot of the Bio1 Inc. is very big on mental health as well. So the mental health for not only our clients, but our employees and our office owners. So we always have resources available to be able to learn more about mental health, first aid, to be able to get resources that they need. So it is something that we take very seriously. And I think that a lot of the offices have really good luck with employees staying on longer because of that. Because we're not just looking at it as a clock in, clock out, go home. It's, hey, we just dealt with a double homicide of 2 children. Let's all have a meeting afterwards. Let's talk about it. We need to be able to debrief. We need to be able to get resources if anyone needs to talk to someone. Like, we do that. We make sure that the mental health is a big piece of Bio1.
That's so good to hear, because I wanted to ask that, and it's like it seems like you guys are doing it really responsibly. That if you do need like a team meeting or extra support afterwards, and you like prioritize that, that's really good to hear. Along with that, you're not TikToking on the job also.
Yep.
Well, and especially in some of the smaller communities, you may know a person that knows a person that was impacted, or you may know the people that have had this traumatic moment happen to them. It could be very close to you, and sometimes. So ensuring that those team members are taken care of. And again, it goes back to bonding. It goes back to, you know, we're a family, we're a work family on the job, and we have to care about all of each other. I mean, when you're in a biohazard suit and you are duct taped in to this giant hazmat suit, you have booties on, you have gloves, you have a full face respirator. You have to have other people looking out for you as well, because your movements, and if you get a rip on your back for some reason, you know, I'm not gonna be able to see that. You have to trust everybody around you, and then to debrief afterward and admit, hey, this has been a hard day. It solidifies that unity.
I'm glad you brought up the suits, Teresa. I think time is flying already. This is insane.
I know, it's
So-
already a half hour in.
Let's talk about some generalities. Teresa, yeah? Time to move on to this?
Yeah, I'm good with that. So obviously you guys are very familiar with the case out of Idaho, in Moscow. So I think that I have a lot of questions. So I'm very curious about the size of a scene like this, and what something like this would entail going in to clean it up.
Yeah, like how many
Respectfully,
people and
obviously,
stuff
because
like that.
obviously this is still very active, and I don't want, you know, somebody from one of the families coming in and seeing anything either. So
Yeah.
And I want to preface too, you got 3 floors here, but you have 6 bedrooms, I think, is what I read. And you had impacted bedrooms, and then on the first floor you had individuals who were sleeping who were not attacked. So just kind of staging that mindset as well, of kind of the different areas and in those areas. Rebecca, how would you guys be training to go through this?
So like with every scene that we go in, the first thing that we do is we first want to make sure we set up a containment area so that we're not cross-contaminating. A big part of all of these scenes when we go into them is looking everywhere. We have to look everywhere to make sure there's no blood splatter, there's no drops, there's no bloody footprints. They could be going from inside the house all the way to the front, or excuse me, all the way to the parking lot, for all we know. So before we even step in the front door, we're looking for all of that stuff outside, going to the front door. And then when we get there, we're setting up containment to make sure we don't cross-contaminate and bring any of the biological matter outside, or excuse me, inside out, right? We want to make sure that we're keeping the scene intact. So we really, we work our way in. We don't want to cross-contaminate. We want to make sure everyone is safe. So we work in teams of 2 at all times as well. A lot of what we're doing and when we're on crime scenes is making sure that safety is number 1, right, for us.
Yeah.
Obviously, for the client, we want to make sure that we get all the biological matter out. But for us, we need to make sure we're safe. We're working with power tools a lot of times. We take out floors, sometimes walls, right? Sometimes vanities. I mean, you never know what you're going to have to take out, especially with a scene this big. There could be all kinds of structural damage. It might not just be on beds. It could be on floors. So when we go into these rooms, we are looking in everything. If there's floor vents, we're looking in floor vents, because that 3rd floor, if someone got murdered out on the 3rd floor and they were by a floor vent, there could have been blood that could have gone through that floor vent and gone all the way down to the basement. So there's things of that nature that we really have to make sure we're looking at to do a thorough job whenever we go to one of these types of scenes.
in your opinion, would that be something an HVAC person would be there to look for?
Typically what it would be is, at least in my experience, is the bio recovery team is the one that finds where it's at. So if it is in an HVAC unit, at that point they would neutralize it to make sure it's safe for an HVAC company to come in, and then the HVAC company can come in and remove any ductwork or anything or replace what they need to.
I have a question. So if the HVAC is running when you guys come in there, and like obviously you have to use like chemicals and stuff and like heat. I don't know if you use like heat to like get rid of like to disinfect and stuff. But like, do you ever have to like turn pilot lights off or anything like that, or do the police officers on a crime scene like ever like mess with like pilot lights or the furnace and the gas situation at all, or no?
They will sometimes. So if there was a weapon discharged in the house and they think it might have either penetrated like a gas line or got close to it, anything like that, they usually will turn it off or have the fire department come and turn off all services to that house until they can make sure there's no gas leaks. So that doesn't happen all the time unless there's a suspected leak of that sort.
But it is
So
possible.
it is possible. Yeah, it is possible. Yep.
Do you see that blue on the door frame here? Can you see like underneath his hand? It's like blue. Is that like a chemical or something happening there, or is that just like maybe their paint of the house? That's like the first thing I thought of when I saw that.
It's a forensic. It's a forensic. It's called blue. Shoot.
Oops, sorry.
It's got the second word's a little different. So it's forensic for, they can pick up DNA,
okay.
they can pick up fingerprints.
Okay.
So that
So
luminol?
this picture,
It's not luminol. It's actually something that they put on, and it can pull the, like, from a porous surface. It can pull it right out of it. My brain is blanking on exactly what it's called, but it's called, I'll look it up real quick.
are these forensic people or are these cleaning people? Can you tell from what they're wearing?
I mean, it's certainly reminiscent of kind of suits that we would be wearing, but it's just hard to discern. I mean, from everything that I've read, it sounds like the cleaning folks were called on site on December 30th, and then they were mandated to leave. So as far as I have seen in news reports, it actually hasn't been cleaned yet. So I'm not sure if that would be then forensics. But Rebecca, do you know kind of on that police side?
And I honestly am not sure with these photos in particular, but I do know quite a few of the police departments that I directly work with, they do have suits and they have respirators if they do need to go into a scene where there was something that was like tear gas, OC spray, maybe drugs, maybe a gas leak, something of that nature. They will get suited to make sure they're safe.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
Have you guys ever gone into a scene where you guys have found evidence that actually was still left there that you've had to contact law enforcement and have them come back?
I have not, but it's something that I know Rebecca trains everybody to be aware of on site.
Yeah, it's something I've had that happen once where we worked with the police department because there was a shooting. The shots were fired into a house, and the house was hoarded. They were a level 4 hoarder. I know you guys know your levels, so level 4 hoarder. And and we had to work with the police to be able to find all the bullets because there was so much hoard in there. So we would work what we were doing. We'd find a bullet, have to stop, take a picture, step back, and then the police would come in, do what they needed to do, and get the bullet, and then we'd keep working. So whenever evidence is found, first responders are called immediately. We stop what we're doing. We take a photo of where the item is that we found it, and we just wait for them to come out, and then they'll continue their investigation.
How many people? Okay, so here's the cleaners arriving the other day at the house. How many people do you think, if you were approaching this situation, how many people are here? How long is it going to take you? Like, what is your first plan of action when you get here?
The first thing I would do is I would do a full evaluation of the house to just go in every room, see how many impacted rooms we have, see if there's any floors or walls that are impacted where we might have to actually pull the floors or walls out. And then I would give a full rundown to the point of contact of how many days we'd assume it would take. With a scene like this, the first day, I would probably just start with 4 people. We'd have 4 people there working in 2 teams of 2, just because it is unknown what we're walking into. So I'd rather have 2 small teams that know each other well and will work really closely together so we can work our way in. And then we can decide from there if we need to maybe have a 3rd team as well to help.
I would also say that the scene at that point when they arrived had been there for 7 weeks. So blood has traveled as far as it's going to travel, but it's also dried. And dried blood is one of the most dangerous things that you can come on in a crime scene because you really need to make sure that you don't breathe anything in, especially because you're protecting yourselves from bloodborne pathogens. So it certainly is. If the incident had just happened, let's say when you come across a suicide and it's ruled a suicide pretty quickly, you can prevent a lot of the damage on the home from biohazards pretty, in a timely manner. But this is sat for 7 weeks and it's still sitting there, at least as far in terms of news reports. So you definitely want to be, to Rebecca's point, very thorough. You want to take your time. This is not a situation that you want to rush. You don't want to miss anything. And you really need to follow the blood and figure out where it's all been impacted.
Do you think that they're probably like having to do like full like rehabs on the house now, like pulling out like like walls and insulation and stuff, or is it something that
it depends? I mean, so when you think about the scene on a very, you know, on the level of what happened, right? They're sleeping in bed and they are murdered. It's with a knife, and there could be some, it sounds like some folks had some defensive wounds, so some people were fighting back. And I'm not saying this to try to like re-traumatize the situation, but I'm thinking in my head, you have people in bed, the mattress, the certain parts of that room are going to absorb a lot of it, but then you have your well, you have your first respond. Well, first, before even first responders get there, you have the roommates that walk in, and you don't know what they may have accidentally touched, and you don't know what they may have accidentally stepped in, or if there was a blanket that was thrown into another room. And then you have the first responders get there, and then you have FBI probably get there. You have coroners, you have medical examiners. By the time crime and trauma scene cleaners get there, we have what originally happened has been completely distorted from when we get there, and we have to assume everything in every room in the house has been impacted, because you don't know if someone stepped in something and didn't realize it and tracked it through the house, if a blanket was moved to another room, if someone touched a light switch somewhere and didn't realize that there was something on their fingers. We have to get everything up. So
everything's getting sanitized.
I mean, anything that we can identify as impacted by biohazards, yes. But we have to, we walk in and I don't know if that's a testing device or not, because I'm trying to see if what he's holding or she's holding in the left hand there. I'm not sure.
Okay, so this is a question we have to ask you guys, your professional opinions. We want to know what you think. Is this blood?
We can't say yes or no if it's blood, because we haven't tested it, but Rebecca can talk a little bit more about how blood travels and how it could be. It just depends too on what's happening on the inside of that property.
Yep. Yeah, and I agree with Krista. We couldn't definitively say, obviously, because we can't test it, but from where it's located in a home where there was just this, you know, multiple homicide that took place, chances are that it probably is biological matter. Biomedical. So usually, like I said earlier, blood can travel many different ways. It wants to find the lowest point though, right? So if we're on the third floor and someone is killed and they're against a wall, right? And their body's laying against the wall, the blood will go into the wall. Now it's also then going to keep traveling to the lowest point. So that could be a beam that's underneath and goes all the way to the side of the house and then goes all the way down. Right. So there's many ways that bio can travel. And with having multiple victims, it's possible that also, depending on where they're at, if they were close to each other, we're also going to have a larger pooling of blood than you would from just one person. And that will also make the bio travel further as well, because you have more of it. So so from the photos and, you know, some of the reports we've seen, it does appear to be biological matter. Is it for sure? We'd have to test it to know, but it is possible. It's very, very possible. And if that's the case and it is outside of the house, it is going to be a very large restoration to get that all fixed. That's a very big cleanup, because then you are tearing apart walls, not only interior, but very possibly an exterior wall too.
You guys, when you test it and if it was not blood, would you clean it still or would you leave it? We
would still clean it. Yeah. So our assumption is always, if it looks like blood, we treat it as blood. We never want there to be something, you know, it could be nail polish left somewhere, but the person who just found someone deceased, they found a dead body, they're going to now tie in all of those, the sights, the smells, the sounds, everything in that moment when they found that body, all those things are now locked into that moment. So even though that might be nail polish on the wall that they knew it was nail polish, I'm going to clean it, because in their mind now, everything in that room is impacted. Everything in that room is part of that scene.
Have you been to a scene or know of a scene that something like this would have has happened where blood has traveled outside of down out of a wall like that?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely. I mean, in
Oh.
second floors too. I mean, if you have an incident that happens on a second or third level, I mean, blood, if it's enough, can travel down into the level below it, which can be really, really harmful too if you think like a condo or an apartment community. And that happens often too with like decomposition. So someone that's has been deceased for quite some time and the body has decomposed. But yeah, absolutely, blood travels.
Mm-hmm.
So do people often remember to thank you? Like, I mean, does it cross like a family, or like does it happen often that like loved ones will come to you and thank you, or do they forget? And I only say forget because I remember when my mother passed away, it wasn't anything traumatic, but my mind space was not where I would have remembered something like that, to like thank the people that came and helped me do this unthinkable thing. So what is it a thankless job, or do people go out of their way to thank you, or what's your experience with that?
I would say I find it extremely I love it. Honestly, I love what we do. And so many of our clients are amazing. They're amazing people. And just something really bad happened. And more than we don't get as many thank yous from our clients, but what we do get a lot of is we'll be in there, doing a cleanup, and they're in the kitchen making us muffins or making us cookies, or they leave while we're doing the cleanup and they go and bring us all back lunch, or they go and they get everyone a little plant. So a lot of times our clients don't know how to say thank you, because I mean, how do you thank someone for cleaning up after a deceased loved one? So instead, they'll give us gifts, they give us tips. A lot of our employees, they make really, really good tips from our clients. So cash tips are very, very common in our industry too.
And I'll say, I think one thing that we enjoy doing is going above and beyond. Our business motto is help first, business second. So there's also not only are we cleaning up a situation that they would otherwise have to do themselves, but I think most of our offices and most of our owners would agree that we look for ways that we can go above and beyond while we're on the job. An example that I can give is a father, unfortunately, committed suicide. And some of the bath toys that were his son's, we had to dispose of because it was porous. So while my husband and my technician were cleaning up the scene in the bathroom, I went out to the store, I got the family groceries, and we got them some new toys. And the little boy had no idea what was going on and what was happening, but it was a way that we could at least try to do something a little bit more, a little bit extra. And when we leave, they have something from our team, they have groceries, they have, some items that were really important to them that we maybe couldn't save. So we're always on the swivel for how can we at least do a little bit more and go above and beyond.
Yep.
Do you for a house like the Idaho house, how many people do you think that you would need on that crew to go in there?
I agree with Rebecca when she said, you don't want a lot of people in there. You'll end up cross-contaminating. You really want to be methodical and take your time. And if you have too many cooks in the kitchen, as that phrase goes, you're going to be stepping all over each other. It depends on the, level of it, but I would assume that if taking your time and having, a handful of people is going to be best.
So then my next question would be, how long do you think it would take to complete this cleanup?
It's hard to say without knowing what's in there, in my mind. What do you think?
I'll tell you, like the biggest job, the longest it's ever taken me to clean a job was 2 weeks. So I'm just gonna say this shouldn't take more than 2 weeks, and that was a whole like a 3,500 square foot house. Every room had to have every wall pulled out and all the flooring. So it took 2 weeks for that.
Talk about that real quick before we have to part away.
You're like, let's get back to that.
You guys,
what happened?
These women, you're about to have your mind blown right now. They took part. Go ahead and tell them.
Oh, that's a different one. But
That's probably a different one. And we didn't actually do that cleanup. If I think that what you're alluding to, but Bio One did.
Oh, okay.
But,
yeah, no, that's what I thought she was. I'm
But
sorry,
you can
Rebecca.
definitely share that, because I think it's still something impressive for the company as a whole.
Here, let me ask you, what was your guys' most intensive logistical rodeo that you've ever been faced with?
Absolutely. So Bio One worked closely with the FBI during the Mandalay Bay shooting. So our local Bio One Vegas office had a relationship with the FBI, and it was a huge undertaking to not only secure the area, but to identify acres and acres of space that were impacted. And one office obviously couldn't do it alone. So Bio One as a company and as our community and our motto, help first, offices traveled from across the United States to come and help with this cleanup.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And it was some outdoors, and yeah.
Who contacts you for these
how long
jobs?
did that one?
I don't. Yeah, me and Krista weren't on that scene. I'm not. I think it was a little over 3 weeks, if I remember correctly, from what I was told. But I'd have to double check that for you guys, and I could get you that information. But that scene too was as y'all know, it was a big shooting. But what a lot of people don't realize is the cleanup wasn't. There was way more as what we would call gross filth than there was actual bio to clean up, because it was a big festival. So there was, Cisco trucks in there that were filled with produce, filled with raw meat, and they were just left running. So everything went bad. There were people that were cooking burgers, right? Because there's all the vendors out. So, I mean, it was just like a big gross filth scene. And there was cockroaches. Then we had mice, maggots, all kinds of stuff because of the food.
Oh, wow.
Oh my gosh.
Something that you would not,
Like in
you
that
don't
big
even think
empty
of.
area, there's just,
Right.
wow.
Yeah.
I mean,
so yeah, something people don't think about.
When an event happens, it's almost like everything just freezes in time until the investigation is over. So, and then the cleanup crew comes in. So, I mean, if someone lost a shoe, it's still there. If someone, it's like a frozen moment in time until we can come in and clean it up.
Mm-hmm.
So that leads to my question then, who contacts you for these jobs?
It depends. For that kind of a job, it was FBI. What I read about the Moscow murders, it was a combination of the property manager and police. And it could be through, relationships. It could be through a Google search. Sometimes, though, it depends. If it's a family member and it's a home owner situation versus if it's a property manager, like an apartment community or a landlord that needs something cleaned up, or if it's police and maybe it's a public space or an outdoor area. One thing that people don't realize too, in all likelihood, homeowners insurance covers things that are happening on these properties. So if you are a property owner, or if you have a mortgage on a house and an incident occurs, you more often than not can get our cleaning and crime and trauma scene cleaning covered by homeowners insurance, minus whatever the deductible is. So I saw some people in the comments saying, hey, let's just tear it down. It really, and I'm not the property owner. I don't know who it is. But yeah, homeowners insurance may cover it.
Yeah.
So does the insurance is typically a company like Bio One? Is it normally insurance, or is it private pay?
It depends on, so what happens, and I'll kind of give you, so we're called to a scene, we talk to somebody, we try to figure out, does homeowners insurance exist? Yes or no. But at the end of the day, we're there to help, we're there to clean it up. If someone would like to go through homeowners insurance, then we can open up the claim and start that process with them. And then we can handle a lot of that situation because there's so much else happening in their world that they need to, deal with. If it is private pay, then we'll work directly one-on-one with whomever is going to be paying for it. So it really, it just depends. And there's some nuances too between renters insurance and homeowners insurance. Like that's a whole nother topic, but kind of relating back to the Moscow murders, you just never know exactly if that property manager does have insurance that can help cover this.
Okay, so I know that we're kind of running out of
almost-
time, but I want to be able to ask you guys, for each of you, what was the hardest scene that you guys have been on yourselves?
Oh,
Gosh.
do you want to go first, Krista?
There's one that always comes to me, and it was we got a call and we were told animals get to me, and this one unfortunately was an animal situation. We were called that there were some animals that needed picked up and they were deceased. My husband and I walk in, and immediately, when we say that, if there's a decomp, there's a very specific odor. There's a very specific smell when a body has decomposed over time. And immediately when we walked in, we knew there was more than just some deceased animals here. What ended up happening is it was a woman who was a dog breeder who was living alone, and she passed away in the home, and no one knew for about 2 weeks or more. And unfortunately, she also was a hoarder. So she bred the dogs, but then she took all of the components of the the newspapers and the litter box systems, and she put them in trash bags, and it was just cluttered all throughout the house. Top and bottom floors. But because no one knew she was deceased, no one was also feeding and helping the animals. So the animals over time, just through starvation, also deceased as well. So we had a triple situation where you had to clean up the decomposition, you had a hoard of trash, and then you had, unfortunately, these animals. On the positive side of things, there was one cat that survived, and we worked really closely with animal control to donate all of the breeding supplies and everything that she used, carriers and kennels and everything. We were able to donate that to animal control. And then we also were able to rescue the cat that did survive. But that one, it broke my heart. It broke my heart.
I would struggle with that myself. I would have a very hard time with that.
And
Rebecca, before
I
you
think
leave,
2 weeks. Yeah, go ahead.
What was that?
I'm sorry. I know that she has a hard stop time,
Yeah.
which is in about a minute. But can you please share me your
best
cleaning hack? You have to have something good. What's
Oh
your
my
best?
cleaning
What's
hack!
your best
I
secret?
wasn't prepared for
That's
that.
like a whole nother episode.
Come on, make it good.
Oh, can I give you a story instead? Is that okay? My
Yeah.
worst story?
Absolutely.
Please.
Okay. And if I go over a couple minutes, it's okay with me if you guys are fine if I go over a couple minutes.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Here's
I could keep
Ada.
you guys here all day, so don't say that.
Uh-huh.
Okay, because I feel like the cleaning hack will take me longer than the story because I'm prepared with the story.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, guys, I
So-
tried.
So okay, so the hardest job that I've ever been to, we got a call from the police department that there was a double homicide and they needed us to come out immediately. So we go out to this house. It was kind of in the middle of nowhere, and we get out there. They told us a little bit about what happened, but it's different when you're told what happened and then you arrive on scene. So we were told that this 19-year-old, he just didn't want to be with his parents anymore, didn't love them. So he just opened up fire in the house and he killed a couple people, killed his mom and dad. So that's what we were told. So when we arrived, the first thing that we noticed is a truck completely shot up. So we went behind the house because that was odd. Behind the house, there was 2 dead dogs. And so what we had found out then later is that the 19-year-old, what had really happened is he got to the house, he got home, he killed all the pets, all the family pets. He shot up all the vehicles so that when his parents came home, they wouldn't be able to escape when he tried to kill them. There was nowhere for them to go, and that the dogs wouldn't try and hurt him because they're dead. So he went in the house, waited for his mom and dad to get home. When they got home, he was like hiding in the house, basically. He came out, he started opening fire on his mother, and his sister was with his mom in the kitchen. So the mother, she grabbed her daughter, who was about 16 years old, grabbed her daughter, shoved her inside of the refrigerator, and just like barricaded her body against the refrigerator. I always get choked up talking about this one. And she took all of the bullets so that her daughter could live. And then he opened up fire on his father, who is retired military, and he opened up fire on his dad, and he shot him in the back. Is basically how he killed him. And there was marks where the father was trying to army crawl his way to his firearm to be able to try and protect himself, and that's where he was killed right there. So going into those types of scenes, it's really hard knowing the whole story. But also, once we knew the whole story, we went in there with even more care, I want to say, because then we knew, okay, he's ex-military. Let's find as much of the military stuff that we can and make sure it's clean, make sure it's perfect, so that he can wear his dress blues in his funeral. So knowing the details, it makes it hard, but it also makes it a lot easier to be able to help the family later on. So that one was the hardest for me. I still get choked up, as you can see, talking about it.
Well, I can't imagine, because you can, knowing the story, you almost, and it's going to make me choked up, is you can visualize what was happening, the trauma that was happening in that home, and knowing that there was a 16-year-old who ends up surviving, who experienced that trauma. That's overwhelming.
I'm so glad that there's people that take it so seriously. It's like, it's very relieving. Like what if I ended up being undiscovered for a few weeks? I would hope that it would be a company that's so respectful about it, that was charged with, that cleanup, so it's really relieving to hear you guys talk about it like that.
Well, and discretion is a really big part of what we do. All of our vehicles, when we go to a scene, it's unmarked. They're just white vans. We're not in the business of trying to put our logo of everything. People don't need to know why we're there. It's not a publicity moment for us, or especially if we're working with hoarders. A lot of hoarders don't want any neighbors to know who we are and what we're doing. And so discretion is really important, and being able to have that compassion and being able to meet the needs and goals and help is just most important.
Well, I know Christine had said that, it's probably a very thankless job, but I can tell you right now that from our perspective, and a lot of people in the chat are all thanking you guys and thanking you guys for doing your work with the compassion that you guys have. I can't even tell you how much I appreciate you guys coming on, and I know Christine's probably tenfold on top of me. So
yeah, you guys can come back, because
we'd
love to come back.
We'd love to come back.
Krista,
and it's go ahead. Mm-hmm.
If you leave me hanging with no cleaning hack, our whole entire audience is going to be furious. So please, Scrub Daddy or Magic Eraser, which one?
Okay, I haven't even.
Oh my gosh.
The Scrub Daddy sponges.
Oh my God.
I'm a Magic Eraser, but I have a 7-year-old where that is absolutely necessary on so many things. She loves to draw everywhere. I'm trying to think my favorite tool. I can talk about my favorite tool on the job, which I'm sure we could use at our house at any point, is a floor scrubber. I love a floor scrubber where you can just have this attachment. Yeah. And then it just you have the thing spinning on the bottom, and you have different pads for a lot of janitors use them too, is kind of where I was first introduced to them. But oh my gosh, when you have an animal hoarding situation, for instance, or you have just a giant mess on the floor of gross filth, once you clean everything up, to get a floor scrub, it's the most satisfying thing in my mind, is a floor scrubber, to clean things up quickly.
What's your favorite recommended air freshener? Which one?
I don't know if I use air fresheners. I have Glade.
I'm a Glade plug-in person.
I am too.
All right.
I
feel
Glade.
satisfied with that. Thank you, Rebecca.
I love Glade.
And there's one thing that I use at home that is super random to clean with, and it's when it's dusty. And it's because I lived in Flagstaff, Arizona for a long time, and it is we're in the mountains, but it is so windy, there's dust everywhere. So instead of using a duster or microfiber rag, I use soot sponges. And they're for fires, but they're like magic erasers for dust. So they literally attract dust to them. So if you need to clean your walls or something that's super dusty, they work amazing. Or unfinished wood, that'll pull it up.
That's a
Incredible
good
hat.
one. That's a good
I
one.
love
Yes.
There
that.
you go.
You pulled,
Yeah,
you
that's a
came
good
through.
I pulled it out.
Well done.
Thank you.
Well done,
Thank
guys
you.
Rebecca.
so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank
you
you.
for
We'd be
putting
happy
up,
to be
thank
back
you for
on
working with their
anytime.
schedules. We are so happy
Absolutely.
you came.
Well, and
Yeah,
thank
thank
you
you.
all, and we will keep updated through you all on what's happening as well as you guys continue to follow a lot of the stuff in Moscow and other areas.
Mhm.
Yeah, and we
what
want
you
to
are
bring you
doing
back
and what
really.
you
So
talk about.
we have more
Oh, we
questions,
will.
so we can do this again.
I think
All
that
right.
you guys should consider going to CrimeCon.
I seriously, we're gonna start looking into it, I'm sure.
Mhm.
And if
Perfect.
anybody is interested in this line of work or even wants to explore a Bio1 office, you can always reach out to us on bio1inc.com, and we'd be happy to have a conversation, connect you with anybody in your area, or if you're interested in owning a Bio1 and doing this for a living, reach out. We're here to talk.
And their website is in the description. It will be in the
Yes.
description.
Yep.
Thank you
Sounds
guys.
good.
Christine and I will be back in about 10, 15 minutes to just kind of decompress and talk through things and go over.
We're going to talk about you.
We're going to talk about you guys, but now the suspect for the Moscow case is actually has his extradition hearing today, so we're going to talk about that a little bit. But I thank you guys. Amazing information. Thank you for doing what you do and doing it thanklessly, because like you said, like people don't even think about that this is something that's actually necessary in everything that we cover on a daily basis. So thank you very much. And thank you very much for coming and sharing your stories with us and your hacks.
All right.
For Christine.
I'm going to play us out. Thank you
All
guys.
right.
and
Bye,
have a-
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.